Hi there, Jeff here from the Wetsuit Centre, talking to you today about the Oneill Psycho 1 3-2 summer wetsuit for summer 2015. The Psycho 1 reintroduced a few years ago with the introduction of the Techno butter material. The Psycho 1 comes in a men's wetsuit, comes in a ladies wetsuit and comes in a kids wetsuit as well. The only difference is at all with the wetsuits is obviously the cut specifically for gender and age. Okay, and the design obviously as well. This suit is all black we've gone with this year, kind of understated, seems to be the thing at the moment. As I said before, this suit is made of the Techno butter material. So there's a few different types of neoprene which Oneill use throughout their range. The cheapest being the BTN neoprene, which you get in the entry-level suits such as the Reactor. Very coarse, not that flexible, and as you get through the range itself and you pay a bit more money, then you get things like the Fluid Flex and the Ultra Flex, which is a standard material, very, very flexible. At the top of the range you get the Techno butter, and the Techno butter is essentially the same rubber as the Ultra Flex neoprene, so lots of air, lots of flexibility, but with this particular lycra over the top of this rubber has a lot less cotton within it, which makes it very soft to the touch and makes a huge difference in terms of how lightweight the suit is and less absorbent, so it doesn't hold as much water because there's less cotton basically. So a bit of a stroke of genius, and it's very, very light and flexible and works really well within a summer wetsuit, which is what this is. And when we say summer wetsuit in the UK, we're talking water temperatures of typically between, depends on which part of the UK, but the warmest it gets to is about 19 degrees, and depends if you're up in Scotland, that kind of thing, you're talking down to maybe 12, 13 degrees in the North Sea. 3-2 will feel good in the 19 degrees, might feel a little bit chillier as you get further down depending on your resistance to the cold, but typically this is a summer wetsuit for UK water. Okay, now you can get this in a 4-3 and a 5-3 as well, obviously it depends on your tolerance for the cold, as I said before. So the Psycho 1, 100% Techno butter, very, very lightweight material, and this suit is incredibly lightweight. The reason they how they do that is strip it down, so it's less thermal lining, bells and whistles. It's just really good quality wetsuit material, Techno butter, minimum seams, loads of flexibility, and a very, very lightweight wetsuit. And when you pick it up, it's really, really impressive how light the wetsuit is. Okay, so as I said before, they strip it down, they take away the smooth skin panel, so it's just one piece of neoprene through the whole central part of the wetsuit. That's the whole way through, just one piece of Techno butter neoprene, and same around the bum, just one big piece, keeping the seams to a minimum, which makes more flexibility. Under the arms as well, one piece of neoprene the whole way through, just really promotes flexibility, which is what this suit's all about. Okay, the seams on the wetsuit are what we call liquid taped, which is kind of old school way of making sure the suit's seams don't let any water in. So basically what you do is you get stitching halfway through on the inside of the wetsuit, and on the outside it's then glued and then taped with the liquid taping. So it's completely sealed and it's not going to let any water in. There's pretty much no chance of any water coming through those seams. It also makes them very, very robust because there's no chance they're going to pull apart. Okay, so you get that liquid taping the whole way through the outside of the suit, and the stitching lies inside. It makes it a little less comfortable with obviously the stitching against your skin, but having said that, you wouldn't even really notice it unless I mentioned it. So liquid taping the whole way through, minimal panels, nice big pieces of neoprene, Duraflex knee pads. Make sure that it doesn't wear through on the knees, really strong robust material, especially useful for surfers who duck dive with their knee. Any seams that you do get on the wetsuit are pre-bent to make sure that they match the contours of the calf muscle, of any muscles on your body, again giving more flexibility. Okay, so that's the whole way through the suit. Interestingly enough, this particular suit is what we call a back zip suit, so you get the zip on the back. Benefit of that is that it's nice and easy to get on and off because you can open up the back nice and wide and get it in and out of the wetsuit. Downside is obviously you do have a zip down the back, so it's not the most flexible thing around your back, but it's really debatable as to how much you'd notice anyway. With this particular suit is a Zen Zip system, so the actual back zip itself is sewn over the top of the inside of the wetsuit. What that means is any water coming through the zip is met with a back panel rather than your skin. So if you open up the zip, you can see there basically any water that does get in through the zip is met with the Zen Zip system and then drained out the bottom of the wetsuit through the drain hole there. And really good way of keeping water out of the wetsuit. And then this piece of neoprene essentially goes up and over and around your head like that, like a collar. Okay, and now that will ensure that any flush throughs that come through the collar, rather than going into the suit itself, is drained out of the wetsuit and keeping you warmer and in the water for longer. So a suit like this is really all about keeping water out of the wetsuit and keeping you nice and sort of flexible and loads of movement. As I said before, the Techno butter is really good. It's non-absorbent, but it also dries very quickly as well, because there's less cotton, there's less water in the wetsuit. It dries really, really quick. Which brings me on to the primary difference between this suit and last year's suit, is the introduction of the Techno butter 2. Now, if I show you the inside of the collar quickly, you can see that's a smooth collar. It's a double seal neck, for those of you who aren't familiar with that, which creates a really good bond with your neck. The inside piece, because it's smooth and sticky, doesn't move, doesn't create rash. It allows the outside piece to move independently, stopping you getting too much of a rash and rub around your neck, but also getting less flush throughs as well. So, the introduction of Techno Butter 2 into the wetsuit series for summer. Basically, it's the same thing, Techno Butter 2, but what they've done with these sort of lycra, they've engineered it a little bit better so that it doesn't bore. Okay, because one thing you typically get, especially with the back-zip wetsuits, because there's a lot of Velcro around, especially as I say with the back-zip wetsuits, which attaches itself to the inside of the suit. And if everyone's ever had one of those, then you can understand that causes a bit of damage, because as the lycra pulls at, the Velcro pulls at the lycra, it creates a barbling effect, which can damage the jersey of the wetsuit. And so now this purple material is the Techno Butter 2. I don't know exactly how they've done it too much, but they've engineered it so that this lycra doesn't actually do that, or does it less. So you've got a little bit of friction on there, but nothing like you had before. Okay, so the idea of that keeps the barbling to a minimum, doesn't get caught on itself, and when you pull it away, it pulls away a lot less violently, and creating less barbling through the suit. The idea is just to give you a bit more shelf life. But also it traps less sand apparently as well, which is quite interesting. Okay, so something about the stitching of the suit, traps less sand in the suit as well, so obviously making it easy to maintain the suit and keep it cleaner, and keeping sand out of the wetsuit as well. It's a nice little interesting feature, but that's essentially what the Techno Butter 2 is doing. So no huge advances in terms of the flexibility of the wetsuit. It's more to do with the sort of durability, longevity and maintenance of the wetsuit. But that's essentially everything that's going on with the Psycho 1. As I say, this year we'll be stocking it for ladies, for kids and for men, and it's a really, really popular wetsuit because it's so lightweight and flexible, which is what summer wetsuits should always be about really. Not too much about warmth, but more about flexibility. And this suit, with the new Techno Butter 2, should see you right for quite a few years. So the Oneill Psycho 1.